Hello and welcome back to Unwinding Minds. Today we're diving into a topic that is often misunderstood but incredibly important to unpack. The idea that everyone is a little autistic. You might have heard someone say this to you before. You might have even said it yourself. Maybe referring to a love of routines or order, being socially awkward, or hating loud noises. And whilst these experiences can overlap with autism traits, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is on the spectrum. So let's explore what's actually going on with warmth whilst looking at the science so that we can reach some clarity together. I hate long intros, as you know, so let's just do this. Firstly, let's clarify the difference between autistic traits and autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition. It's characterized by differences in terms of communication, social interaction, sensory processing, and repetitive behaviors. It's diagnosed based on criteria in the DSM-5 or ICD-11, which involve not just traits themselves, but how they impact on daily functioning and development over time. Now it's time to look at that often overlooked thing, the nuance. Research shows that autistic traits exist on a continuum in the general population. This has been supported by tools like the Autism Spectrum Quotient, or AQ, which was developed by psychologist Simon Baron-Cohen and his team all the way back in 2001. These questionnaires measure traits like attention to detail, your social preferences, and sensory sensitivity. And people do score differently on these tests when they take them, even if they do not have diagnosable levels of autism symptoms. Things are made even more complicated by the fact that diagnosis is significantly challenging to get in certain areas of the country. Should people who choose to not go through the diagnosis, or who are waiting for diagnosis, therefore consider themselves not to be autistic until it's been rubber stamped? No, not necessarily, as this can be really damaging. I appreciate that this can get really confusing, as there's a lot of misinformation online and people are increasingly reflecting on themselves to improve their self-understanding, which is a good thing, by the way, but it leads to lots of questions. So yes, someone might score a little higher on an AQ test, or might have some traits that overlap with autism. They might hate change or feel awkward in crowds. That's valid. But that doesn't mean that they're a little autistic. Why? Because autism isn't just a mix of isolated traits. It's about the pattern, persistence, and impact of those traits, especially in early development. It's not as though you can be a little pregnant, and the same follows here. You know, it's a neurodevelopmental difference, and people often use "I'm a little autistic" to say that they have a certain trait or traits, which can be really damaging to people who have autism and find themselves crippled by the daily difficulties they may encounter with reading social cues or sensory overwhelm that leads to shutdowns or meltdowns. It's also about how your brain processes information across multiple domains, social, sensory, emotional, in ways that are consistent and they're core to your experience. It doesn't go away. Having a few traits isn't the same as living with the whole neurodevelopmental profile that defines autism. And many neurodivergent people find it frustrating when people throw terms around like this, because it's almost never with the full understanding of what being on the spectrum is like, that it's not being quirky, it's not a passing mood, it's every day present in your life and it affects every area of your life. This isn't to punish or judge people who are looking for answers, by the way. Lots of us face challenges in life and want to reach a greater understanding of ourselves, the world around us, to find out who we are, what is causing us to stumble or fall. Frankly, it's a good thing to keep asking yourself questions as you go throughout your life, because our identity shifts, and without reflection, how can there be growth? How can we become the people we want to be? When people casually say, everyone's a little autistic, they often do mean well. Maybe they're trying to express empathy or be relatable or vulnerable about a struggle that they're going through. But that phrase can disguise or belittle the real challenges and strengths that people with autism live with every day. I say often, and I maintain, that comparison is the thief of joy. And it's not helpful to compare yourself to a group that you aren't a part of. Imagine telling someone with asthma, well, everyone gets out of breath sometimes. How insensitive. I have actually had that comment before around the pots, believe it or not. It's just not the same thing though. And it doesn't honour the reality of that person's experience. An experience you may not be privy to. You can express your challenges, of course, but being really careful about the language you use can prevent damage. I've actually found I've done this to myself in the past to minimise my own struggles. It's the same thing that we can sometimes do to push stuff down in ourselves, you know? I remember a while ago being out and about on my mobility scooter, enjoying being with my partner outside, as one does, and then feeling guilty when I saw a woman who was physically disabled due to a limb issue and very obviously in pain. I thought to myself in that moment, God, I shouldn't even be using this mobility device. Look at how much worse things could be. My partner had to gently remind me that without that aid, I would pass out from walking the distance that we had travelled. And as I reflected on it, I realised it was a little like trying to say that if she had cancer, my diabetes wasn't real. It was ludicrous, but the language in my mind, that was the problem. Language is important. It's how we convey our feelings, sure, but it's also how we convey information, and sometimes it can get muddied. Research by Sasson and Morrison in 2019 even shows that this kind of casual language, statements like "I'm a little autistic," contributes to misunderstanding and further stigmatization of oppressed groups, making it harder for autistic people to even be taken seriously or get the support that they might actually need. You may still be wondering, why do non-autistic people show autistic traits then? Well, it's a really good question. How much time have you got? Research and common sense can help to answer it. Trait variability is normal. Just like introversion or extroversion, people vary in social, sensory, and cognitive styles. Nuance is important here to contextualize what we mean when we say there's variability. I've never met two human beings who are the same. Have you? Genetics plays a big role too. Studies show that family members of people who are autistic, even if they don't themselves have ASD, often display what's called broad autism phenotype, or BAP. We can do a video on that if you're interested, so comment below and I can smash that together. As many as 1 in 3 of children who are born to fathers who are neurodiverse will be neurodiverse themselves. Neurodiversity is part of being human. The brain isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, and many traits that are common in autism, like deep focus or love of routine, are also common in the general population, just to a lesser degree or with a lesser impact. So what can we learn from all of this waffle? Well, hopefully it means that we can appreciate the spectrum of human minds, from sensory seeking to hyperlogical or super empathetic, without erasing the unique lived experience of autistic people. We can honour autistic voices, challenge stereotypes together, and stay curious without flattening everything into "we're all a little something." Because in reality, we're all a little different, and that's what makes us so powerful. We have reached the end of our time together for now. If this has helped you to think differently, please give the video a thumbs up, share it with someone who's curious, and drop your thoughts in the comments section. If this doesn't resonate for you, that's cool too. I'd love to understand your perspective on this issue. there aren't really any wrong answers, and open communication can help us to improve our understanding of one another and get towards where we want to be. Whether you're a person with autism or know someone who has autism or just want to understand more, then just remember, I'm really glad that you're here and that you took the time to take this video in. It's been lovely to speak with you. Take really good care.